Alright guys, so for this trick, we have 2 decks of cards, and if I had a spectator, I would have them choose either deck. So let's say they want this deck here. So perfect. We can take it out of the box, and we can actually give it a little bit of a shuffle, just to mix it up a little bit. And if I had a spectator, I would have them touch a card. Let's say this one here from the middle of the deck. It doesn't really matter what the card is. Let's say we got the 4 of clubs here. Ooh, and it's got a little signature from a previous performance or something. And we can take this card, doesn't really matter, and lose it somewhere in the pack. And I can split the deck in half, have the spectator shuffle this half, and we can switch halves. They can shuffle this half if they want. I can shuffle it, doesn't really matter. We can just lose these cards all together somewhere in the middle. So yeah, their card is somewhere lost in this deck. But what matters here is this deck of cards over here, the Cherry Casino deck, because what's gonna happen is I am gonna attempt to locate the match to your card in this deck, okay? So I believe you picked the 4 of clubs, right? So I'm gonna attempt to find the 4 of clubs in this deck over here, okay? So I'm not quite sure if I can do it, but I believe I actually, I think I already got it. 4 of clubs, right? Yeah, that's the card on the top. Now, okay, that's pretty cool. I found the match, but obviously it's not really, your card, because your card had a little signature on it, right? So I think how we can fix this is all I have to do is kind of wave my hand over the card, right? Just like this. Watch. Just like that. You can see the back of the card starts to kind of look like your card, right? Because your card was from the red deck of cards, correct? But not the green deck. Now, obviously it looks like your card, but it wouldn't really be your card unless it had your signature on it as well. And that right there is the trick. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, be sure to stick around for the tutorial. All right guys, so here's the tutorial for the trick that you just saw. So this trick is pretty simple. It's not very hard to do. Obviously, it's not like a magician fooler or anything. It's just a fun little trick to perform. It's a pretty cool kind of double color change where first the back of the card changes and then the face of the card changes. I think it's a pretty cool trick. And there are 2 ways to perform this trick. So you can do it the way that I showed in the performance, which is sort of like a signature transposition effect, or you can just do it as like a double color change effect. So I'll show you both ways. The sleight of hand is completely the same for both versions, but just the idea of the trick is different. Without further ado, let's get into how this is done. First, you're gonna need 2 decks of cards. I'm using a red deck and then a green Cherry Casino deck. It can be any 2 decks that you own. One of the decks, doesn't matter which one, but one of the decks needs to have a double back card. And if you don't have access to one of these, you can easily make one yourself. And how you do that is you just take 2 random cards, like you can take 2 jokers or just 2 random cards. You take some double-sided tape, you place it on one card, and then you stick the cards face to face, and there, now you have a double back card. So that's just in case you don't own an actual printed gaff double back card like this one. This is just a single card that has been literally printed on both sides. So yeah, if you have one, great. If you don't have one, just make one, and you're basically ready to go if you have this. All you need to do is take this card and place it on the bottom of the deck with the same back, obviously. Just place it on the bottom of the deck, and then this goes in the box like this with the cards facing down from the top like this. So the front of the box, the cards are facing down. What you want to do is take this deck, you're gonna turn it upside down and place it on the table. So now the cards are facing up and the double backer is right here on the face of the deck. And this deck with the double backer is going to be the second deck that you use. The other deck of cards is completely impromptu. There's no gimmicks or anything. There's no order. This can be a shuffled deck of cards. What I did in the beginning was a little bit of a magician's force. So all you can do is have the spectator just choose a deck, and if they choose this deck, you say perfect, and then give it to them to shuffle. If they choose this deck, then say perfect, we'll use this deck for later, and we can go ahead and shuffle this deck for now. And that's what you would do if they choose that deck. So essentially you're gonna end with the red deck every single time. So this deck can really be shuffled. They can mix it up, and now you're gonna have the spectator select out a card. Let's say they select the King of Spades here. All you're gonna do is control this card to the bottom of the deck. So you can do that in many ways. You can use a classic pass here, just like this, something like that. Now the card is on the bottom. You can do a cull, so you can take the card here, place it in the deck, have them look at it right there, and now you can control the card to the bottom with a cull. All of these controls I've taught many times before, and I'm just gonna assume that you guys know at least one control to control a card to the bottom, so I won't waste too much time teaching that in the video. So once you control it to the bottom, you're gonna do what's called a gambler's cop. So I'm sure a lot of you already know this as well, but if you don't know, you're gonna take the card and get a pinky break on it, and you're essentially essentially going to place the card, the bottom card, in the back of your hand like this. So it's going to be held mostly between the ring finger here and the base of the thumb, and it's going to be held in this far back part of the hand. And if you kind of squeeze it just a little bit, you'll see it kind of bends into the shape of your hand. And from this angle, the card is completely invisible. You can't see the card at all right now. And this is what the spectator will see. So what you're going to do is you're going to place the card into the gambler's cop position by getting a break on that card, moving the entire deck back, and then dropping that card off just like this. You're going to drop that card as you move the rest of the deck up into your hand, so back into the normal position. But now there's one card that's left behind, which is in gambler's cop. You're going to give the spectator the deck to shuffle, and your hand is instantly going to drop down with the gambler's cop card to the second deck. So you're going to give this to them, and your hand is going to drop down here and pick up the second deck of cards. Now what you're going to do is pick it up and rotate it like this. And now you're going to square up the box and the card. So now you're just going to place that card so it's very squared up with the box. And now all you're going to do is just hold onto that card kind of tight, because what you're going to do is open the box, hold the flap down with your finger, and then you're going to kind of let the cards fall. This is how I do it. I let the cards fall, and then once the cards are already out of the box, that's when I use my fingers here and I scoop that card along with the rest of the deck. So now I scoop that card along, kind of, pour the rest of the cards out of the box at the same time, and now you can throw the box away. You don't really need it anymore. All that you've done is you've now loaded that selection there on the bottom of the deck, and this deck is not really going to be used anymore, so we can kind of forget about this deck as well. The spectator is going to be holding on to it, so they can shuffle it, do whatever they want with it, doesn't really matter. So now you're in this position here. You have the selection on the bottom, and second from the bottom is your double back card. So what you're going to do is when you want to move those two cards to the top, and how I do that is I just riffle down two cards with my thumb, and I catch a pinky break, transfer that to a thumb break, just like this. Now I have a thumb break on the bottom two cards. I'm gonna swing cut over about half the cards, just drop those cards off with my thumb like this, drop the cards off, and then I can hold a pinky break and then just do some table cuts like this from the pinky break. When I get to that break, I can either set that down or I can do another couple of table cuts, so I can get a pinky break and then keep cutting to the break like this, and then just keep repeating this chain, table cut sequence. But when you place those cards finally on the top, you're gonna have those two cards there controlled to the top. So the selection and the double back card are now on the top. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna do a triple lift. So this is just for the version for the double color change. So first the back of the card changes, then the face of the card will completely change to another card. How I get a triple lift usually is I will either do a pinky count like this for 3 cards, 1, 2, 3, or you can either dribble the cards and catch a break with 3 cards like this. Just hold 3 cards back, and then you flip over 3 cards as 1. And you're gonna leave those cards out jogged and say, look, ace of spades. And obviously this won't be their card, so you can use some patter, say, okay, so that probably wasn't your card, right? But watch, I can fix this. And now you're gonna do the double color change. So before you do the color change, you do wanna make sure you flip your hand over like this, and you wanna flash the back of this card, because you want them to see that it's a green card, right? Because in a moment, you're gonna change it, and this is how you're gonna change it. You're gonna use your index finger, and you're gonna pull back on the bottom card of the triple lift here. So the bottom card right here, you're gonna pull back with the index finger, and all you're gonna do is you're gonna wave your hand over the card like you're gonna change it. And what you're gonna do is as you wave your hand over, you're gonna push the index finger down with this card, and that's going to push the card down like this, which will then expose that red card. So you're gonna push it all the way down until it's flush with the rest of the deck. And your hand waving is gonna cover this. You're gonna wave your hand over, and as you wave, it's gonna cover that card being slid down. So you're gonna do that under the cover of the hand, you wave your hand over, and now you can snap and flip over your wrist and show the back of the red card here, and really make sure they see this, because this is a pretty insane moment right here when the back of the card just completely changes. And now for the double color change, you're gonna turn your wrist back over so that you show the red card, and you're gonna perform the glide. So the glide is when you hold your thumb here and your fingers on the face. Your fingers are simply gonna push that card, so the card will go down and flush with the deck, but the other card will remain there. So you're just gonna push that card back with your fingers, and at the same time pull this card out. Just make sure that card isn't sticking out like this. You want to make sure you push it back all the way so it's hidden like that. And then when you pull the card out, you can do another wave like this, and give it a flick, do whatever you want, and then boom, show the card is now the spectator's selection, and it could even be their signed card. And yeah, that's basically the entire trick. So that is for the version with just a basic, double color change, where first the back changes and then the face will change to their selection. So it'll just change from a completely random card to their selection. But this version now, I'll teach you guys how to do the same thing, but with the signature transposition. So essentially it's the exact same trick, but instead of having them choose a free selection from the red deck, you're just gonna force a card on them. Let's say you wanna still force the King of Spades. So all you want to do for the setup then is take the King of Spades from the green deck and place that on top of the deck, and then make sure your double backer is also on the bottom. So that's the setup for the green deck, that goes back in the box. And then the setup for the red deck, just make sure you have that King of Spades on top somewhere. Now you're going to start the trick normally, where you can shuffle the deck, but maintain that card on top like this. And now you're just going to force the top card any way you want to. So you can do a riffle force, have them say stop, and then boom, you can have them take the card and sign it. So make sure they do a big signature on it. And now you're just gonna control this card once again to the bottom any way you want to. You can do, a double undercut. Really, any way is fine. This is just a tutorial, so you guys can obviously think of your own method if you want to. Just control it to the bottom, and then you're gonna do the gambler's cop, give it to them, and pick up the deck, square it up like this, open the box, and then let the cards fall like this, take the cards out, get rid of that box. Make sure when you control the bottom two cards of the green deck here, from the bottom to the top, make sure when you swing cut the cards, I tend to do multiple swing cuts just as an impulse. Make sure you don't do that, because you need this top card here, the King of Spades, to stay, because it's going to be the duplicate to their selection, or the force card. So then you're gonna drop the cards instantly. So don't do any more swing cuts, just drop the cards instantly, and then you can do some table cuts and just control that top half to the top of the deck. So just control that now to the top, just like this. So now we essentially have the green King of Spades, their signed selection, and then the double backer on top. So now you're gonna do a triple lift like this, showing the King of Spades, and say, look, boom, this is the match to your card, but obviously it's not your card, because your card had a signature on it. And now use that index finger to get that little break on that card, and all you're gonna do now is do the same thing. So you're gonna push that card back, wave your hand over it, and now look, boom, the back of the card changes, but obviously there's still no signature on the card. So then when you do the glide move, you're gonna push that card back and then pull out the top card. What I like to do is, if they sign the card in the middle of the card, I'll just cover my hand over the middle and then say, watch, I can actually print your signature right on the card, and then boom, the signature will kind of like print itself, and it looks really, really visual. And that right there would be the end of the trick. So yeah, that is the trick, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not already. So yeah, stay tuned for more videos coming soon. So see you guys next time. Bye.